What do you get when you cross a lizard that some people care about with a ceratopsian that nobody cares about? You get something that everybody should care about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to dive into Wave 3 of the Ceratopsian series with a look at this flaming hot, spicy lad boy dude, the beasts of the Mesozoic Utahceratops. Utahceratops, a ceratopsian genus that has graced the pile of dinosaurs in my head that I don't really care about because I don't find them nearly as visually appealing or interesting as a lot of their other relatives. That was until I knocked on David Silva's door, handed him my wallet, and in return he provided me with one of my favorite things ever! Also, just for clarification, that interaction never happened. I just ordered it online. Humor, ladies and gentlemen, humor. But before we dive into my justified simpery for this delicious, fiery hunk of molded plastic parts, Utahceratops is known from several specimens, all belonging to one genus, whatever. Hey, try to guess where this thing was discovered. Go ahead, guess. That's right! It was found in Tokyo, Japan! Clarification, that was a joke. It's from Utah. You can stop now. I hear you banging on your keyboards. But yes, Utahceratops was unearthed in the Kaiparowitz Formation in Utah in the United States. It was a fairly average-sized but robust ceratopsian that shared its environment with the likes of Teratophonius, a tyrannosaur, the Hadrosaur Gripposaurus, and fellow ceratopsians Nezudoceratops and Cosmoceratops. Heck, with the ceratopsian figures already existing and the Teratophonius on the way, you can make a really great Kaiparowitz setup with just BOTM figures. Moving on to the model now, this Utahceratops does a majority of its part sharing with the Pachyrhinosaurus, which we have already reviewed on the channel, with the new parts including the head, lower jaw, tail, and torso. The torso adds more bulk to the figure's appearance than it might seem, and in combination with a larger head, this thing just feels like it dwarfs the Pachy. The only thing the Pachy has going for it with size advantage is its tail, which is a good chunk longer than the Utah's, but the short stubby tail on the Utah honestly just gives it this focused, hulking design. The Pachy is kinda like the average Joe, while the Utah is swole down at the gym getting gains. Anyways, the new head sculpt is amazing! It's without question a great representation of the animal's head and is nicely detailed along with the rest of the figure, of course. The scalation on the frill is intricate and gorgeous. The horns look great as well, especially the brow and nasal horns, and the beak actually, where the texturing, coloration, and even the feel of them give off a wooden vibe, which I think is really cool, and honestly ties in well with the fiery coloration and makes me think of a steakhouse for some reason. Every time I look at this thing, I just want to host a barbecue. I don't know, don't ask questions. Speaking of coloration, if you haven't guessed already, oh dandy do I love the colors on this thing. I already fell in love with this figure once the prototype was painted, but as soon as I got it in hand, I loved it even more. The colors and patterns are so bold and saturated in person, easily making it one of the beacons of my collection. The Gila Monster colors were a stellar choice and are executed to nigh perfection, especially with that gorgeous molten pattern on the frill. Eye spots and all. I also love the choice of making the face mostly black, with the majority of the figure exhibiting bright reds and oranges. The solid dark patch on the face really brings attention to the head. I also like how the reds on the head are a bit more saturated. Oh. I also like how the reds on the head are a bit more saturated. You heard what I said. Those reds, man, I love them. And those reds on the head, oh, they're so dang saturated. You heard what I said, man. Give me those reds, beasts of the Mesozoic. New single dropping next week. Anyways, I like how the reds on the head are a bit more saturated to bring further distinction between the head and the body, which is always something that I love to see. Ceratopsians have such unique and ornate head designs that were obviously used as display structures, and I love when depictions of them have good contrast between the bodies and the heads in coloration. And in the case of this Utahceratops, I think the fairly subtle changes go a really long way for having very similar consistent coloration across the entirety of the body. Also, I really like the choice of having the claws on the feet a bright tan color. Contrasts the black feet really nicely. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention one of the main highlights about BOTM figures, the articulation. Not much to say about this Utah in comparison to the Packy, other than the ab crunch with the new torso piece is better. Must be from all those sit-ups that the Utah does cause he's swole down at the gym getting gains. But yeah, standard good articulation for this body size. The head on the Utah has a better range of motion than the head on my Packy, which is awesome, especially given that it has a way bigger head. The jaw also works way better and doesn't fall off, but I will say that it does have a slight underbite when the jaw is completely open. It's barely noticeable from most angles, but I thought I'd mention it. And as far as size goes, this Utah is generally about 13 inches long. Measurements are going to change depending on the pose you put it in. And for a quick comparison, here it is with the Packy and the teensy tiny little baby Zuniceratops that I can't believe I thought was decently sized when I got it. And Jeff Goldblum. That's gonna do it for this review, guys. Let me know what you think of this gloriously volcanic Utahceratops in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in my next review. So take care, and bye-bye.